Okay. What's happening, players? We out here with another episode of History of the Yu-Gi-Oh Player, and we are going back across the pond this time to America, and we're discussing the history of Mike Albanese today, who's joining out on the stream to go over his story and his YGO quote unquote career, as we like to call it. So let's just jump right in. Hello and hi.
What's up?
What's good with you?
Um, Not much, it's a Friday. Didn't do much today.
Anything good going on in the Yu-Gi-Oh world for you recently?
Recently, unfortunately, no, nothing really good for me lately. Um, as for like the format, like I wanted to play it a lot, and then like I played an event last weekend, and now I really don't want to play it a lot. So
Well,
back and forth.
let's actually talk about where you've been at with in terms of the Yugi mons, I guess. So when did you start playing?
Okay, I started going to like locals and stuff. The weekend of the last SJC, like SJC Edison in 2010. I
That's pretty recent.
uh yeah, that was like I remember I went to the local on a Saturday and everyone's like, "There's an event an hour away, so no one's here," and I was like, "Oh, well, I didn't get the memo on that." But I started playing like a lot, like way before that, like kind of like casually, like just with a few friends, like like when it came out, I bought the Kaiba Yugi structure deck, like everyone says, and I got like a pack of like LOB, and from then I was like, I can get used to this. But it wasn't until like a long time later that I actually like learned all the rules and started actually playing with people who knew what they were doing.
So you did start before 2010, just not like properly.
Yeah, like I had cards. I like buy packs and stuff. I'd like make decks. They were awful, but like I'd make deck. Like I knew what Yu-Gi-Oh was.
Yeah.
I watched the show and everything.
When did you like start quote unquote trying?
Um, before I get into that, I want to say like what really got me into the game like competitively. Like I went to a summer camp like when I was in like middle school, which is like maybe like 2005, 2006, and like it was like a quote unquote smart kid camp that like says a lot more about my parents than it does about me. But like I saw like kids play. I really disliked the camp at first, but then I saw like kids play Yu-Gi-Oh. I'm like, I have those cards. Like maybe this is something I can enjoy. And then like for the 3 years I went to the camp, like the majority of the thing I did like at lunch and like when we went down to the lake was like play Yu-Gi-Oh. So that like kind of led me into like like the more like structured version. Like that led to me. I met someone there who like we went to locals for the first time, and then it was 2012 nationals was the first tournament I ever went to. Well, like outside of like regionals and stuff,
What
like
about
2012 now.
region? I mean, obviously you have to qualify for nationals. Like, how did you go about that?
I remember I got my invited a regional a few times. 2 times I did like really good at a regional on like the weekend of an event. So like I kind of like planned that because I was bad at Yu-Gi-Oh. I was like maybe I'll do well because all the good people are like out at the real event, so I'll like do good at the regional. So like I got my invite a few like times that way.
What were
Kind of
the
like
so that was 2012 then. Well, what year was it that you started like attending regionals and stuff? That would be like 2010,
I
2011.
think like the end of what was the first regional I have in memory? I think I went to a regional like after Shining Darkness came out, where like X Saber's Infernity and yeah, Frog FTK. Like I went to a I started going. I think that was my first regional.
How old were you at the time?
Um, 16.
All right. That's the kind of age
So
where it's like it's a bit hard to like afford to play, especially at
Yeah,
that time.
yeah. An issue. Like I couldn't get all the real like. I remember like Emmer's blades are really expensive, and I wanted to play X Sabers, so my deck like kind of stunk. It had giant rats instead.
Was that like a standard like replacement back then?
Some people played both of them. Like I remember a few of my friends like top YCS with both of them, but like it was like it like kind of did. It obviously like made like Full Hell Knight and Eco a lot worse, but like it kind of did the job for the level of competitiveness that I was playing, which was just like locals and a couple regionals here and there.
Yeah. Okay. Fair enough. Um, and in terms of like moving on from the region, well, how did you actually do the region? I mean, you got your invite, right? So that's like,
Yeah, yeah. I always like did okay. I remember there was one regional where the head judge ruled. This is going to be one of those. You know how people like make up say like, oh, the head judge ruled this, but the head judge actually ruled this. It was a it was the Shining Darkness format, and you couldn't. They ruled you couldn't Infernity Barrier Hunlay if you synchroed with Dark Soul because it would like you could like make it activate to dodge barrier, which makes no sense for like three different reasons. But I was playing X Sabers and they ruled that. So I got like a few free wins strictly just because of the judges being like they're messing up.
so
But yeah, I always like solid X3 regional finisher.
and you got your invite there. Did you go to that national for that season?
No, no, 2011. Like I had a few friends that were driving there. It was like only 5 or 6 hours away, but like I don't actually know why I didn't go, but like I had like a samurai deck that I thought was good. Like I probably could have like competed. I wasn't good enough to like do well, but like I definitely could have like competed. I don't know why I didn't. I didn't really have like a group yet of people who I like consistently traveled with.
What about like locals and stuff? I mean, didn't you like meet lots of people there?
Um, the big issue with the locals when I started going, everyone kind of really had their own group, and I was like kind of like an asshole. So like no one really like I didn't really become part of like any of the groups. Like we had fun of those, but they had like their established groups, and I was kind of like still like an outsider because like I wasn't like very good and like they didn't really know me that well.
Yeah. So how did you like start getting more into the competitive play? Because like you need like your friends and stuff to go to events. Really, I mean that's what most people do. Um,
Yeah.
so the first like major event, I guess, would be like nationals. Then, how did you end up doing that?
Yeah. Um, a bunch of people from my locals were like, "Oh, like who wants to go?" Like, because it was 2012 was Columbus, and that's like driving distance, but like it's pretty far. It's a stretch. But for me, it's like maybe like 8 to 10 hours. I don't remember. But they were like, "Who wants to go?" I'm like, you know what? I've been playing. Why not like actually like bring it to the next level? So I told like a few of my friends from my locals. I was like, sure, I'll go to nationals or whatever. Everyone I went with was like much like at a higher level, been playing longer. The people out of the people I went with, but I was like, you got to start somewhere. So that's why I decided to. I've been playing for so long; it's kind of like a waste not to like start going to events at some point, right? You know what I mean?
And nationals was the first one.
Yeah.
And what did you play?
Dino Rabbit. Okay, so like I had the wind up deck, and I acknowledged that I should have played it. Like I definitely should have. I just like hadn't like played with it at all. So like I wouldn't have felt comfortable playing it. So I played Rabbit, and I like didn't do that well.
All right, and you chose the wind up. Well, you didn't choose the wind up deck. I mean, that was like probably a big mistake because it was at least affordable at the time, right? So you must have had like
Yeah,
all the
yeah, it
good
wasn't
stuff.
too expensive. It was the only secret that was expensive was like Wind Up Rabbit, and I like managed to get them before they were a lot. So like the deck was very affordable. Like I had all the cards, like, but I just just kind of was like, you know what? I've been playing with Rabbit for like a few months. That's like the safe bet, and a, a mistake it was because Windup did really well. It took first and second at our WCQ, so probably was the right choice. Whoops.
And how did you do?
Uh, I think I went 4-3, a solid X3 performance. Um,
7 rounds at
but
nationals?
no, I dropped after that. No, it was
Was that
it
day
was
one?
11 rounds. It was definitely 11 rounds, yeah. And I after I got my third loss, round 7, I kind of called it quits.
Oh well, it probably wasn't that bad of a hit, with your like first
Yeah,
event
I
and
felt
stuff.
like when I was like 3 or 4-0, I felt nice. I was like, damn, I'm nice. Like I'm 4-0, and then I lost 3 in a row. But I felt really good at one point.
So when you went away from this event afterwards, I mean, unless there's something particular about the event you want to mention that comes to mind.
No, no, nothing really. It was like I didn't do. I realized like I could definitely do better. So that was probably the point where I decided I'm like, okay, I should put more time into it. And I already played DN a lot, so it was just a matter of like testing more. I think.
Yeah, okay, so you went away with it, and obviously you weren't that disheartened because, a lot of people would probably go away from it because the way it works is like you start at the local level and then you kind of like start winning locals and topping locals and then you think you're hot shit and then you go to like a big event and then suddenly, oh shit, well, I clearly am not as good as I thought I was, and then some people will just
Yeah,
get
exactly.
disheartened.
Like these people these people. There's good people everywhere, and you're just average for your like local area. So when you go to an event with people who are actually good, you get spanked.
So when you left this event, obviously it was a bit wasn't I mean, surely it wasn't that upsetting. I mean, you obviously just kind of thought to yourself, well, gonna do better, gonna
Yeah,
improve.
I didn't like expect to top, so it wasn't like I was like, God, I wasn't like down on myself or anything.
Yeah, well, that's cool. So where'd you go from there? Like, what's like the next like major milestone?
Um, I at that time I lived away at college, so it was really hard to go to a lot of events. But there was a YCS in October 2012 in Providence, Rhode Island. That was like it would have been such a stretch for me to go. I had like an exam Friday afternoon, I remember. I had to like drive home, like take a bus home, and then drive, like take my car to the YCS. And I was like, is it really worth it? Then I realized I'm like, I can't top if I don't go. So I decided to like make the journey to that event because I wanted to start going to like more events and stuff.
Did you go alone?
I took a bus home alone. I drove to the event alone, but I had friends that were there, so I they had a hotel, so I stayed with them.
Well, that's not too
I
bad.
had to, yeah, it wasn't too bad.
So 2012 would have been like dad stuff.
Uh, it was um it was Gears came out. Gear came out. Wind Up was shot no hand loop, but it was Shockmaster, and like Chaos Dragons were okay, Heroes were okay, and I played Wind Up, and I did I went like 8-2 at a regional a few weeks prior. 8-2, 10 on regional. I wanted to shoot myself. But, I like went to the YCS and like I topped the YCS and I thought I was like so good. I thought I was so broken when I topped. I was like, this was so easy.
So you taught Providence.
Yeah.
All right. Um, do you remember any of the matchups and stuff
Um,
and how you
I
got there?
think it was like a little bit of everything. Like I remember getting like destroyed by agents in top 32, like destroyed. And I guess that was kind of like the quote unquote sleeper deck because it had good matchups across the board. It could side like three goes in match for wind up, which like every deck that wasn't wind up just sided three goes in for wind up. But yeah, I remember I played like a few good people. I remember I played Botang and he destroyed me, and that was really it. Was but like the big thing was I topped and I thought like that meant I was really good. Like I thought I was so good for topping, like which is obviously an awful thought to have because you could just like get lucky one event, like as people have proven. But my head like got like super inflated after that for like no reason.
Um, do you think that's a bad thing? Because like obviously being overconfident is obviously bad, but I mean to an extent, if you think
To an
you're
extent, I think you have to think you can do well at a tournament. Like you can't always be like, oh, I'm gonna do bad, but you can't be like super like you could be confidence is fine, but like you said, overconfidence I think is a bad thing
yeah.
because overconfidence might lead to like complacentness in the future.
Mm. So where did you go from there? Because your ego was
Um,
obviously on fire from just like topping
yeah,
like your first like well second major event, I guess. So
yeah, yeah.
must have been feeling good.
Yeah, yeah. I thought it was pretty cool because it was like I really liked the deck too. So like it was cool that I could top of the deck I liked. Then it was like the spring. There was like I played in one YCS. It was a YCS Meadowlands, which was like 30 minutes from my house, and I tested a lot. I went like 9-1 at a regional like 2 weeks prior. So I thought I was testing a lot. I thought I had a good shot, and I did like it was this is the one Tyree won with Mermail, and
Mm.
I did like really bad. I went like I like didn't make day two, like got destroyed. Like I think I went 5-3 maybe, and I was like super down on myself after I did bad.
Why do you think you did so bad there?
Um, like I'm sure at the time I made excuses, which was stupid, but I just don't think I was at like the level of player to like I just don't think I was like that high level of player at the time. Like I don't think I was like I probably my deck probably wasn't that my deck building probably wasn't that good because I didn't really have like a circle. So I like made the deck by myself. Like it probably had more than 40 cards. Um, I probably didn't test that much outside of DN. I also like think I probably should have just played Infernity, so my deck choice was wrong also. And I remember I played a lot of mirrors and no Fire Fist. And I remember Fire Fist was like the easy matchup because heavy was legal.
Mm.
So like yeah, I remember I lost like a couple mirrors, and yeah, it was disappointing, but it was just more I just like wanted to do better in the future. It just made
So
me realize I have to work harder, basically.
yeah, so that was like the wake up call essentially to like do better and stuff.
Yeah, yeah, you can't don't get complacent. Just gotta keep working hard.
Yeah. And then where did you go after? What was your next like major milestone?
Um, I tested a lot for the for our WCQ, and I topped our WCQ, the Dragon Spellbook one, and
Mm.
I like tested a lot for that, so it felt really good that I topped. Um, once again, my deck list was awful. Like I didn't really. Once again, I didn't have like a circle. I didn't have like people I worked on decks with, so my deck list itself was really bad. But I was like pretty happy because I worked hard and I topped. I didn't quite. Once I topped, I was like, let's see if I can get to Worlds. Then I got destroyed in like top 32. I like won one round really easily, and I was like, I won top 64 like super quick. I was like, man, like I'm nice. But then like I got like destroyed in top 32, like utterly destroyed. Um, yeah, so I was like, man, it's cool to top, but like topping isn't enough. Like you want to like do better every time.
Yeah.
Want to like win eventually. Still haven't done that, but one day, hopefully.
So at least it seems like you had a pretty good ratio at this time, I guess. Well, what is that, like 50%, 75% top
Yeah,
ratio?
yeah. And then my ratio was like really good, and then in the fall ARGs started, so it was just like more events to go to,
Mm.
which was cool. Like there was like a dragon format ARG, like the Ravine one that I went to, but
How big were
remember
ARGs back then?
I remember the first ARG I went to was like 385 people.
Yeah, that's pretty big.
I remember I was like, wow, I'm surprised it was this small, but like compared to ARGs now, that's like pretty big.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was like then like fall 2013. I only went to one ARG, and I didn't top, like, whatever. Then 2014 started, and there were a bunch of ARGs, and I lost like round one and didn't top like all of them. Like, did awful at all of them.
What decks
I
were
was
you
like,
playing?
man, can I just like awful?
What decks were you running for 2014?
Um, in like the beginning of 2014, it was like I played like Gears at one of them, like Dragons when Soul Charge came out. Um, yeah, that stuff like that. And then there was like a YCS right when the artifacts came out that I played Hat and I topped somehow. That deck was so bad, like so bad, like oh my god, I can't explain how bad that deck was.
Why do you think
And
it
then
did so well?
like um from my experience, people just like didn't know how to like play against it. I think like people would like leave guys in attack mode, like they'd side cards for the artifact engine, and that just like aren't very good against like the hands, like stuff like that. Like it was so many different engines that like there wasn't really cards that covered everything, and people like missided and didn't know how to play against it. So it was like a surprise factor, I guess, somewhat. So that's why I think I did. Like me and a few people did really well with the artifact deck.
Did you develop a circle at this point?
Um, yeah, this is like at this point I started to talk to Matt Monahan a lot. He played like the same like almost the same deck as me. I remember he couldn't get all the cards together, but he almost played the same deck as me. And yeah, like I talked to like a few of my friends at Lokes at this point. Like Matt, we like talked on Facebook a lot, like on DN a lot. DN was very big for me for Yu-Gi-Oh, very big. Like played a lot, always was online, making decks, watching people, spectating, dueling myself, like dueling, playing matches and stuff. It was very big.
Hmm.
And yeah, that was. But yeah, like I think I like slowly like developed a group at that point. Like I slowly talked to like more people, like widened my horizons of who I talked to. So like my decks weren't as bad because I could actually bounce ideas off other people.
Yeah. So what was your like biggest accomplishment and the
Um,
highlight of everything, really?
um, I got second at an ARG with Infernity. That was pretty cool. That was especially cool because I really liked the deck. Like, I really liked the deck. And but like like I topped a few YCSs, but like I never got past top 16. So like those aren't really like crazy accomplishments. Like I mean they're accomplishments, but like they didn't like feel really great because like I like promptly like lost and could have gone farther. But I guess like second at the ARG was pretty cool, and yeah, that was pretty. Then there was a YCS I topped with like this trapless Clifford deck, and that YCS was really fun because every match I won, it was like 5 minutes. He like won so fast. That deck was really fun too. But yeah, like
What was the idea behind that deck? I can't even remember at the time looking back.
which so, like what's the idea you said behind it?
Yeah, behind the
Um,
Trapless build. Because obviously the idea with
um
Clifford initially was just like, flood your opponent, summon a bunch of guys, OTK.
yeah, it played second. It went second. And it played like three copies of Storm. So like you like get a bunch of sacrifices and pendulums. You'd storm. You'd kill their back row, and then you'd get a bunch of searches, pendulum out, summon disc, and they'd die. With carrier to help bounce Dante because like BA was a deck
With what? That
with
wasn't
a
bouncing. Oh,
carrier.
Carrier, right? Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Did you play Econ then?
Uh, no, that's funny, but no, I didn't. I didn't get it. No, the deck was very good at killing people like turn one.
Oh, I thought
Like
that was a thing in the deck because you could tribute a guy and then tribute trigger the effect and then steal a guy.
Yeah. No. I remember people bringing that up. I just never, I never tried it and never played it.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
And this was still 2014. No, this is moving into Duelist Alliance, I guess.
Yeah, that's like the very beginning of 2015 was that event.
Yeah. Now, what did you think
And then
about
like
that side of the format after we moved into Duelist Alliance? What did you do after that?
I actually played 0 events between of the Duelist Alliance format. Like literally 0. I don't know if like my school semester was hard or like I really just wasn't into it. The decks were all like really weak when it was like after like I mean like except for Toronto where Soul Charge was a 3. After that, when Soul Charge got hit and before like El Shaddai Fusion came out, all the decks were like kind of weak, and like I didn't really play any tournaments then until until like the end of January when like I don't remember what that set was, the one with Monolith. So there was like a felt like a 5-month gap where I played no events
Yeah.
of the.
All right, that's fair enough. And that's moving into Nekros format around about February of.
Yeah, February 2015.
Yeah. So where did you go from in Nekros format?
Um, I I did like pretty awful at every Konami event with Nekros. Like I remember, like oh my god, it was so many mistakes, so many spell cancelers. It was so rough. Once time passed, so many Annoyatilis. It was rough. Like I just couldn't catch a break with that deck. Like I did good at like a couple ARGs with Nekros, because like at ARGs I only seemed to play mirrors, but like then I'd go to like I remember one event in particular, YCS Columbus, 2015, the one TJ Kinsley won. I remember round 1 I played Cliffort. Round 2 I played Shadal. Round 3 I played Shadal. Round 4 I played Shadal. And round 5 I played Infernoid, and I went 2-3.
Did you lose to Infernoid?
Yeah, oh, dude. Alright, so right before I played Infernoid, I got a feature against Jeff, and it was like, it's on YouTube, and he destroyed me. Like, game 1, turn 1 mistake, like, no Yu-Gi-Oh! Allowed, and then game 2, like, Lancia when I play Mirror, Valley or something, it was awful. And then the Infernoid guy, I'm like, you go first? He goes, turn 1, he like summons a guy, and then he uses Monster Gate. He like hits Spell Canceller off Monster Gate, game 1. And I'm like, alright, like this was fun. I like try to protect and make a rank 4, but I can't. Then game 2, literally the same thing happens, like Monster Gate into Spell Canceller, and I ask, I'm like, how many Monster Gate are legal? He's like, 1. I'm like, great.
Why didn't you just call 5?
Oh, it was rough.
What did you call? Like, why didn't you legit just call 5? Oh wait, no, Monster Gate's not the one you call.
It was Monster Gate, yeah, so I couldn't even. He got his way with me. It was like Monster Gate, mill half my deck, Spell Canceller.
Yeah.
And then when he flips Spell Canceller, game 2, when he summons Spell Canceller, I draw for turn, and he goes, hold up, and flips 2 mistakes. I was so tilted by that. I was like, oh my god, this guy just wanted to let me know he had 2. And we were siding hands. And I was like, man, if I had like Ice Hand, it would just be game. But I didn't, and I died. Oh, that was rough.
Oh, so I remember one of the people who sided hands in Nekros. That was kind of hit or miss. Some people really liked it, some people didn't like it.
Yeah, I switched back and forth. Like, I think Nats I did Denko. But that term I did hands. And I remember the look on his face. He's like, hold up! Mistake. Response? Mistake. And I was like, okay, you got me, dude.
Asking for a response with Spell Counselor. Yep, sure.
Yeah, I'm gonna Typhoon that one, just for you to flip the other one. Like,
oh god, what a crazy format. Did you not play anything else that format? Did you just play Necros and that's it? I mean,
Um,
BA like won like Prague, and there was like a couple of like
yeah,
BA things that did well. Like Necros is
I
actually the best
played.
deck that didn't achieve anything if you think about it.
Yeah, I know. After BA took first and second at our WCQ, I was like so sick of playing Necros. I like there was like an ARG right after Nationals that I played BA at, and then I played like BA at YCS Toronto, and then I just never played Necros again after our Nationals.
Mm.
Which which Ryan Levine always says he really liked Necros mirrors when Jin got banned, like after Jin got banned. He always asked me why I don't like it. I was like, I got Jin so much before Jin got banned that I was just put off from playing the deck.
Yeah.
Like there's probably like a handful of matches of Necros mirrors I've played like on ARG streams. I could think of three where the only reason I lost any of the games was Jin. I got Jin so much. It was rough. I did not play a lot of Yu-Gi-Oh that format.
Nah, that definitely wasn't fun. And did you achieve anything at all throughout the whole Necros format? Did you top anything?
I like. I remember there was like maybe like I topped like two ARGs and like that was it. I like YC Chicago. I went like 6-0 to 6-3. Um, Columbus, like I said, I did really bad. Nationals, I'm pretty sure I went like 5-3. Yeah, I just did really poorly at like six events I played Necros at. I think I topped like two or three ARGs, and then like didn't top like the three Konami events I went to.
The I have two memories of you when I was like first starting playing and stuff. So like I started playing like 2014. I remember you playing Infernity a lot, and I remember the second thing I remember is you playing Mirror Force in the Necros mirror. I thought that was actually kind of cool. What was that about?
Okay, that was Christian George's idea, which we all just like kind of took, and it was like so good, like it was so good. Like if your opponent has one set, like you're not gonna like if your opponent is like confident and they had one set, you weren't just gonna like go for Trish. Like it's either just like a chainable for mirror or it's just like mirror the ice barrier. So like you're never gonna like Trish one back row. And I remember I pulled off Mirror Force like twice, like really good.
Yeah, I
And
remember you Mirror Force for like 4 or 5 on stream. I'm pretty sure.
yeah, he had like Gungnir, like Unicorn, Village,
Oh yeah,
and like
Village.
and the Unicorn was Jinned, and I mirror forced him, and he literally had the ammo to pop my back row, and he didn't. And he was like so tilted, and then game 3 I lost, so it didn't matter. And then the same tournament I remember I played Ryan Levine, and he like went for Trish, and I Lancia'd, and so I couldn't Valk, and he attacked and I like mirror forced him for like 3 or 4 monsters.
Nice.
Lancia mirror force, that was the combo.
Lancia Mirror Force the combo. Yeah, that was pretty cool. I mean, I just thought that was interesting because obviously, yeah, as you said, like if you have one back row, they just assume it's barrier at that stage, and then they don't trish it, and then they get hit for like 5. Um, so in terms of recent successes, let's bring the timeline up to where we at now. What's your most recent success, and you know where do you go from here, kind of thing?
Uh, this is kind of depressing for me because literally since the YCS, I have like for next time I talk YCS, I have like a joke I want to tell. So look out for that if that ever happens. But literally every Konami event in like the last year and a half, I've like done like I've not topped. Like I've done really like 2 Torontos in a row. I got like 38th and 40th, and I lost around 12 at nationals this year. Um, I played like a really awful deck at like Providence and Columbus, and I've just topped like no Konami events. Like it's been awful. It's been rough.
Well, shit. What about ARGs?
Um, this year was 2016 was actually like my worst year, like since the first year I played, in terms of success. I attribute that mostly to just playing the wrong deck. Like, I played Cosmo for like 4 events. I have no idea why. Like, no idea.
Was this the Fire
Like,
King
that was
build, right?
my
At least.
Yeah, yeah. I played Demise at one of them, but yeah, I played like Fire King Cosmo at like 3 events, and then my friends were like, dude, you have to just stop, just like play, just like suck it up, play BA, and um, and then I played BA at a few events. I like topped like all I did. I think this year I just topped like I think 3 ARGs this year, but that was it. Like it was so rough. This is a rough year for me. Next year's the year.
So the thing is, as well, see when you say you played B8, I remember like I remember it quite vividly as well, was just how much you hated the Phantom Knight engine, but yeah, you know, you were actually playing pure BA for like the longest time ever.
Yeah,
And
I
I think
played.
even for part way through, when I think to mid kind of changed like the psyche of BA, like by just playing like the Phantom Knight engine and just doing like really well with it, like no traps except Fogblade. But like before that, pure
Yeah.
BA was like the thing. So like, what was that all about?
So like I remember that ARG very vividly because everyone's BA Phantomite decks had so many Phantomites in it, and I thought that was just like so bad. Like they're playing like multiple gloves and stuff. I'm like, this can't be right. Like like and so I thought pure BA was a lot better for the mirror, and that was right when Beatrice came out. So I assumed I'd be playing a lot more mirrors. So like I didn't play the Phantomite cards, and I remember I like went undefeated in Swiss at at one ARG, and then proceeded to lose to Domain Monarch, but that's beside the point. Um, it was I think the point where I realized that the Phantomites were necessary was like you needed it for extra deck Monarch, like making a 3K break sword, because like there was no way to out Monarchs in pure BA without like break sorting them, and if they had Aether, that's just terrible. Like you just did nothing. So you needed like the Phantom Knights against Monarchs because like Fogwood was just okay against them. Like it stopped their Erebus for a turn, but making a 3K break sword was like very important. Like, and I think it's when I realized that is when like I realized like the Phantom Knights were like necessary. I wish I realized that earlier because I probably would have played BA for like just every tournament. But I'm glad I realized it eventually.
Yeah.
And when Timid went with BA, it was crazy because everyone like wrote off BA because of like cherries, and they were like, "Oh, it's too weak," etc. But like Beatrice was still at 3. That card was ridiculous. Anti spell was still legal. Like all the reasons BA were good were outweighed like the fact that like cherries existed.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was I don't know why we wrote off BA at first. Like I do not know why.
Because the
That's
thing
like when
with
me.
cherries was like, if you open the cherries, sure, you probably lose, but like, if you don't open cherries, then you still just make Beatrices over the same Dante, even if you do get
Yeah,
cherries after.
exactly. You don't need one Dante. And if they cherry you, and you could set a trap card, and like you could just like loop Leviers and break swords, and they have one less card. Like there's sometimes you just win anyway. Like I remember vividly for YCS Providence this year, I was testing Pendulum a lot, and every time I Reapered BA, I would still lose.
Yeah.
They would make Grand Pulse in defense, and I just lose. And I remember I was so frustrated by that. And that was when it was like the standard Draco Pal deck, not like the Kieran deck.
Yeah. All right. Well, I guess that concludes the timeline. That's been a pretty good outline. And
Yeah,
moving on.
nothing.
Go
Good thing I accomplished like nothing this year. The time I would have gotten longer.
on. Anything else that you missed out or wanted to maybe go back and touch on again?
No, I think I covered everything. How like it was like the camp that kind of like got me into Yu-Gi-Oh, and then like once like I love then once you start competing once and you do well once, like you just have the thirst to like do well again.
Yeah. All right. So moving into like understanding of the game and stuff. What do you think were some of the biggest mistakes that you kind of touched upon them as well? Like obviously complacency is one of them, but in terms of like actual mechanics of the game, like technical play and deck building? What are like some of the fundamental like flaws that you had, like if when you could like look back now and give yourself advice like 10 years ago
Overall,
or
yeah.
something?
Oh yeah. Overall, deck building is like I think deck building's like hands down like the most important part of the game. Like right now, like so if I could like if you look at like decks from years ago, like you'd be like, wow, like people were so bad at building decks. Like even the decks that like won events and stuff. Like people like neglect that like playing more than 40, like not up lack of upstart, etc. But I think that's like a big thing I would like push myself to do, like just focus on deck building because technical play you can't really teach technical play. You just like learn it through practice. But you could like teach deck building easier. Like the rules of deck building, like I remember my first YC I played 42 cards. Like why would I do that? Like ugh. Like it makes no sense. And
Why
like
do
a
you think it
combo
made
deck.
sense at the time?
I don't know. I probably thought like I wanted all these cards, and like you realize this is how like I explain it to my friends. Like if you have a deck with 42 cards, that just means you haven't decided what the two worst cards are yet.
Mm.
Like, and there were definitely two worst cards in my deck. I just didn't figure it. I just didn't know it at the time.
So why do you think that's such like a fundamental part of the game? Because it's like something that people always like mention is like, well, you got to play less cards because if you play less cards, you see your best cards faster, etc. So it
Yeah.
does seem like really basic and it seems like really like logical, but a lot of people just don't get it. And on top of
Well,
that, we've seen so many good players do well with more than 40 cards. Like, I mean, didn't Elvis
I
win the
think
YCS this
now,
weekend with more cards? And we had Billy
yeah,
Briggs win with 60. So why do you think
yeah,
like that is?
like Elvis won with 44. Dude, it's like, and what's crazy is I think now it's more important than ever because if you're playing metal foes, you want the more metal foes in your hand, the better. So like naturally, you want less cards in your deck to like draw a high percentage with metal foes. Same thing with like the ABC deck. Like a lot of times, if you don't have hanger, you can't play. So like you want a higher percentage of your deck to be hanger or terraforming. That's like the biggest thing. When I saw like Elvis was playing like 44, I was like, oh my god, and he drew so nice too.
Yeah, he did.
But, like, but that was like the thing. Like I think it's like especially important in this format because there's like so many cards that just there's so few cards like you need to play. So like you just like you have to draw them or you just like can't play.
But how do you like explain the fact that like Billy Brake for example like topping with 60 cards for winning with 60? Well, I mean technically topping because it was draft after like top 60, but
Yeah,
like
yeah,
there's like lots of examples with people just playing like absurd amount of cards, like 45, 47 in some cases. There was like a 50 card like Mermail deck at one point. Like
yeah. I
what is
remember
it
like
about these
one
like
guy won with like a 50 some odd card or 47 card or something.
yeah.
I think well for Billy's just like a god. So like I'm just gonna throw that out there. Like he could like I'm sure if he did the tournament again in like did the Swiss rounds again, if he cut down his deck to 40, he would do just as well, if not better. You know
Mm.
what I mean? Like I know like Billy personally, and a big thing he's about is like increasing his deck count so he doesn't draw his bad one ups. Like I remember YCS Atlanta he topped and he played like four different trap holes.
Yeah,
And
and
he
the
was
idea
playing
was
more
so you
than
didn't
40.
draw them.
He was playing more than 40. He's like, yeah, I don't. If I play more than 40, like I don't want to. I'll draw like the one ofs less. But like, I think the the allure of not drawing your bad cards as much doesn't outweigh the like drawing your better cards more. You know, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it does. But would you do you think it would be better to say like over 40 isn't wrong, it's just perhaps different kind of thing?
I mean, after so many people have had success with it, you have to question like maybe they're onto something. But I still hold very true to the thought that if anyone that did better with more than 40, like cut their deck to 40, their deck would have just been better.
Mm-hmm.
If that, I think that makes sense. Yeah, especially this format, like especially now.
Yeah,
Or if you don't feel like Hanger, it's like you can't play.
that is
Bambuku,
true.
etc.
And what about other fundamentals in terms of deck building? What are like some rules that you go by and that kind of stuff?
Um, it's something I do with my extra, like when I'm determining like what cards I need like for the extra deck is like at locals I'll like play with like a 20 card extra deck and like pay attention to like what I don't make like ever, and I'll be like to determine like well this never came up, etc. And that's actually why I did bad. I didn't top the AOG last weekend, but that's a whole nother story. I like I like never made Vermilion in testing, and then it came up twice at the ARG, and I didn't, and I cut it 5 minutes before round one
Do you think
because I'm an
it's wrong then to go based off of testing? Because obviously,
idiot.
you think a lot of people do say like, oh, anecdotal evidence, etc., etc. But for a lot of top players and a lot of players that I've had like come on and talk about this, like on this show, like a lot of them do say like, yeah, just like test and practice and see what works for you, kind of thing. And that does seem to work for a lot of people. Why do you think that's wrong, or do you think it should be another
I know a
different way?
lot of people like basic like Matt Monahan. He's a very theory guy.
Mm,
But I think testing's like for testing for cards like that is very important. Like if this card is consistently like you consistently don't want it when you draw it, you have to consider like, well, what if I just don't play it? Stuff like that.
yeah,
But it's but the extra deck is a little different because like you can make them at any time. So like if you have access to these like cards at all times, like it's different than your main deck because you actually have to like draw it or search it. The extra deck you could just like make it any time. So I think extra deck is a lot easier to like pick like to determine what's good and what's not. Because if you're like, oh, I never want something, then I just won't play it. But for your main deck, like especially with like trap cards and stuff, like non-engine cards, like I know a lot of the Metal Foe decks played like no defensive cards, and you never like if you don't play defensive cards, like you won't get like used to like thinking like oh maybe I did want striker barrier here. So you just have to like try different things,
yeah.
like hand traps versus real traps, etc.
Is there anything else that you wanted to mention with regards to deck building fundamentals and understanding of how to like correctly put your deck together for an event, or even like choosing the right archetype? I mean, that's something that you obviously seem to have like you mentioned a lot. It's like you just played like the wrong deck like a lot. Like
That is very important. You should test with every deck, and you have to test with every deck against every deck. Like there's been a lot of formats where like a deck is good and people just don't realize it till someone tops with it. Like imagine how good it would feel if you were the person that realized it was good and you won with it. Like you just have to try everything.
yeah,
Like don't decide. Like you could decide that you think the ABC deck's the best deck, but you should be testing with like Metal Foes, Mermail, etc. The Trap deck. You just got to test with everything because some decks might like surprise you.
why do you think you played Cosmo for so long? Like, I mean, I mean, you said yourself you thought that was like the wrong deck, but like, yet you played it like so much.
Okay,
Why do you
so
think
like,
you were like so attached to it, kind of thing?
I'm like very dumb sometimes when it decides to coming up decks because like I like want like with certain decks I like want to top with them even if it's like doesn't give me. I'd be like man I really want to top with this deck, which is like so stupid. Like I'm not stupid, but like it's a dumb reason to play a deck. But like at first I thought the island deck was really good. Like I don't regret playing it for like the first event, but then after the second event where like we just kept like drawing unplayable, we were like, oh, maybe we shouldn't play this again. Like Jake switched and he won Columbus, and I didn't, and I did awful. So I think it's like if it's not working for you, just like cut the cord, just like cut, just stop. Like I was I definitely played Cosmo for way too long. Oh my god.
Yeah. What do you think was the best
One
deck for
event.
this year?
Say that one more time.
So like pre ABC, well pre like the ban list, I guess. What do you think was the best deck?
Also like the WCQ format.
Yeah.
Like I don't regret playing BA. I think I think BA gives you the best chance to top, the best chance to win because you can play every game. Like I don't want to enter a tournament and like just concede a third of the games.
Mm.
Like with like Monarch or something. Like
Because of things like restrict and stuff, right?
and just like drawing your five and being like, oh, I don't have a Monarch, like I can't play. Like I guess there's like arguments for making your deck stronger while sacrificing consistency. Like if you look at our national champion, he went like 9-3 in Swiss, but like his deck was powerful enough to win the whole thing once Top Cut started. But I think I was always playing like the consistent deck.
Didn't Eric play like just the super standard domain list?
Oh yeah, it was very standard, yeah. And he just drew playable and destroyed everyone
Yeah.
because those cards are ridiculous.
So that's not really an example of power, though, is it? I mean, he just played like three structure decks, kind of thing, right?
Yeah, but like the Monarch deck is like a lot stronger. It's like kind of like now with like Metal Foe versus ABC. I think Metal Foe's like much more consistent. Like you'll do the same thing more often, but like ABC when it draws good, it draws like it. You can't lose to anyone.
Mm-hmm.
That's like I think how it was like BA versus Monarch. Like BA would always do the same thing, but sometimes Monarch couldn't play. But when it could, it would do really well. Like it would. Erebus was an insane card. Like summoning Erebus is usually just game. Like
Yeah.
it's the same thing. If you go Soup Buster turn one, you win. Especially game one, you win.
Yep. All right, moving on from deck building, let's talk about technical play. Like you touched upon it earlier, and you said like that's not really something you can learn. Do you want to talk a little bit more about that and explain what you
Yeah,
mean?
I think technical play is like here I'll say this first. When you're like starting to play Yu-Gi-Oh, you could become like really good with a deck, but you might not be like good at playing Yu-Gi-Oh as a whole yet. Like you could be good with a deck, but not good at Yu-Gi-Oh, if that makes sense. And it's
Yeah.
like just over time where you like play a different deck, bunch of different decks, and you get used to like Yu-Gi-Oh as a whole, where you're just like better at like playing overall. Like technical play, like I said like it couldn't be taught. It's just from, I think it's just from practice, like playing a lot, understanding interactions. Like rulings are a big thing too, like missing timing, etc. Like it's just something that comes with just playing for a long time. It's very hard to like start playing and understand everything at first.
One thing I like to bring up to people who come on here when I talk to them is the example. I always have like these two completely polar opposite examples of like Omar Daoudi and Patrick Hoban. So you have
Oh,
someone like
I know exactly what you're gonna say. How Omar always plays a standard deck,
yeah.
and Patrick does the opposite.
Yeah, so like Patrick just goes for like deck building, like power, just like trying to like outsmart the meta, whereas Omar kind of just like he just plays one deck, but he plays it super well and just like does like he just like practices so much. So like what approach do you think is correct?
Um, I usually take the Omar approach. So I usually play like the standard deck. Practice with a lot, learn its ins and outs, and just play like a standard version. Obviously, if you're trying to have a high top ratio, the Omar strategy is going to work better at that. But if you're trying to win a higher percentage of the time that you top, I guess Patrick's way is much better because obviously when it comes to winning in top cut, he's the best at that.
Yeah, that is true.
But I think like a lot of people go with this the consistent like the Omar strategy, the consistent. But I guess if you want to win, you have to try the Patrick strategy. Like you won't top as much, but when you do, like your deck will be that much better.
Yeah. Um, and a little bit more on like the technical play aspect because like you seem to have like really downplayed it a lot and you kind of just boil it down to like well you just got to practice kind of thing, but realistically there's some certain aspects of like technical play where you can't really get it through practice. Like there's some like for example understanding that you need to hold cards sometimes and you can't just play cards as you get them, for example. Like see that kind of like mentality where you need to actually like think like steps ahead. I know that seems really obvious to like think like moves ahead, but a lot of players play like, and I like to call it Whack-A-Mole Yu-Gi-Oh. So as soon as you have a card light up, you just play it. Like as soon as like it's
Oh,
like on Dev Pro.
that's oh, I know exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah.
That's a very new player like kind of thing, and I think you honestly just get a feel for that through playing. Like your opponent summons a monster with 1,500 or less, people just feel compelled to use their bottomless trap hole. Like I think that's something like. I go to locals a lot, and I go to a lot of different locals, and I think that's something I definitely see with newer players. Like like if they have a card and they can activate it, they'll use it.
Yeah. So there's like a lot of examples like that where, you do have like the Whack-A-Mole Yu-Gi-Oh, and then you have like things like where you know I think Fraser Smith explained this really well when he came on. He was like, you can't like just like, let's say for example your opponent summons a problem monster and it's like, yeah, I could flip my bottomless here, or I could like wait till I draw for turn and then I can like make an Xyz and cast out it or something like that. Where it's like you kind of like you have to like
You have to
plan.
wait. Like if it's good now, it could be even better later.
Yeah, that kind of thing. Like
Okay.
that's a very learned thing to do, and it's like it's something that you kind of just have to like get eventually. But like, how do you think you've managed to learn these things? Like, what is it that like helped it click for you, if you know what I mean?
Um, yeah, I don't want to seem like a broken record, but I think the more you play over time, you just like realize that cards can just get more value. Like you could wait. Like your opponent attacks with like your opponent summons Sabersaurus and attacks, and you have Book of Moon. You're like, I could book it to save damage, but what is that like really doing? You have to think like over the course of the game, is this helping me win? I think, and when your opponent summons like a Kabazools and you have Bottomless, like is Bottomless there really helping you win? Like that Kabazools isn't really threatening you. Next turn, if they summon a Sabersaurus next to it, now Bottomless could actually help win you the game because it's preventing them from making Logia. Or like, say your opponent summons Kabazools, then they like reborn like Guiba or something. Yeah, I think you just have to think like, is this card me using this card? Will it like help me win? Like more than like using it later, using it a different time. And I think that just comes with experience.
Yeah. And
Like if
one.
I say to like a new player, like your opponent so explaining those scenarios. Like if your opponent summons like a Cobbles and they bottom sub, and then you ask them like, why did you do that? And they like can't give you an answer. It's like, well, it'd be hard to explain to them that like in the long run, bottom of something else would be better. Like I think it's just honestly, I think it's just the experience from playing.
Yeah. And one
Like
final
if you've been
part.
in more scenarios, if you play the same game 100 times, you're gonna realize where the bottomless is better.
Mm. So TLDR, use your cards when they have value.
Yeah,
Let's go with that.
it's you're playing to win, so you might as well use the cards with helping you win the most. And like you might not know like what's gonna happen in 5 turns, but the majority of the time, like bottom swing a normal monster like isn't what's gonna win you the game
Yeah, that's true.
when it's like not the like immediate threat. Yeah, it's
So moving on to, I have one final part of technical play I wanted to go over. For guys in chat, if you guys want to throw out Q&A stuff for us, because we're going to move on to that shortly. So if you just throw out any kind of questions at all, just whatever, technical play, deck building, current format, about Mike himself, etc., just ask it in the chat. But moving on, I wanted to ask, talking about technical play again, one final aspect is reading and mind games. So like that's something that's very important. Is that something that
okay.
you've practiced or thought about much? Because a lot of players, for example, like especially I call you kind of players like the DN like kind of players, where you're coming from this background where you most of your like skills have come from playing online, and it's very hard to bluff and like sometimes read on DN. It can be like doable. Sometimes it's not. But obviously, playing in real life, you have way more knowledge of like body language, response times, and stuff like that. Because if someone responds slowly on DN, like maybe they're just fucking like alt tabbed or some shit. But if someone responds slowly,
it might just be slow. Yeah.
yeah. But if you like ask someone for a response in real life, like then you probably think, hey, well, they obviously have an answer to my battle phase or whatever. What is like? Do you think like? I mean, I don't actually know like whether or not you have had a lot of practice in real life compared to DN. I would just safely assume you probably played more DN games than like real life games. But how important do you think like mind games and reading is, and how do you think like you've managed to like learn and practice it more?
As for myself, I actually play like locals a lot. So though I play DN a lot, I actually have a lot of like real life practice as well. So I think reading people in mind games is might be one of the most important parts of the game. Like, and it's not something you can teach. Like, it's kind of something you just feel it when you're playing. Like, your opponent, like when you ask them for a response and they like depends like the order which they look at their back row or something that they have something. But I think like reads and mind games are like super important. Like, I'm trying to think if I have like a good example. Like, I have like I talk a lot when I play. Like I try to get my opponent talking. I try to like get information from them from their words. And some like people might say it's like annoying or whatever, but like if you like watch me play, like I'm always talking. Like whether I know the person or I don't. And
Yeah, a lot
I
of
know
people
there's
think
been
that's
like
dirty.
I don't think it's like that's a whole nother argument whether like if it's like what
Tabletop.
point are you crossing the rules?
Yeah.
But I think if like you're just like talking to your opponent like they don't have to answer. Like if my opponent says, "Can you please stop talking?" I'll like stop. You know what I mean? Like, it's a lot like poker. Like I've been like studying poker a lot lately. Where the rules are like kind of it's like kind of like it's the gray area where people might think it's like dirty play. But I know for those who read Patrick's book, he included an excerpt of something I did at an event where I like quote unquote like mind game someone, if you want to put it like that.
Yeah.
Where I like used the words I was saying to distract them from like the different ways like they would win the game. But I think yeah, like I'm not someone you want to play against. It's awful. I'm awful. It's like Calvin. You don't want to. If you're a new player, you do not want to play against Calvin at an event. It would be awful. Oh my god.
I have one question actually for you, just relating to that. So, at my regionals last weekend, I was playing against one of my friends, right? And he activates Metaphor skill and he pops Bismugear, right? So he goes into his deck and he sets a card. And as soon as he like goes into his deck and chooses the card he's picking off of the pop scale, I immediately like kind of like move my hand over to his side of the field. I'm like, oh, so what are you setting there? And he's like, oh, I'm setting full metal. It's like, oh, okay, you're setting full metal, cool. And then he like thinks for a few seconds, and then he goes to the end phase and he starts searching his deck. And I'm like, oh, you didn't activate Bismugear because it's like because you know you got to activate it and then it resolves in the end phase. So do you
Magister power?
Yeah, exactly. So do you think what I did there was cheating?
Okay, so like me and Ryan Levine have talked about this exact scenario so much in the past 2 weeks. Like the joke I tell is the second your opponent like pops Bismugear and doesn't activate it, some people just start like foaming at the mouth and they can't wait to say like you didn't activate it. But it's the kind of thing where I think you just like do I think that's cheating? No. I think if it was like the same scenario, I'd let them search, but like it's one of those like you do have to activate it.
Yeah.
Like I'll give you an example from the ARG. Ryan's playing some guy the last round. They're like both guaranteed to top, like undefeated, and Ryan like pops Bismugear, gets the scale, and he's like, activate my Bismugear. The guy's like, you didn't activate it. And he's like, I'm literally activating it right now. Like, I just set the spell. I'm activating it now. Like, we always talk about people like just can't wait to like try to get you.
Yeah.
Like I wish people just like more focused on like the game other than like trying to get their opponents. Like
But do you not think that's an important part, like getting your opponent? Because like, you know, with a format like this, let's say for example you're playing against me and I've opened Sook ABC to back row. You need everything in your power to make me fuck up there, right? And talking is one thing you can do, right?
If it's like I don't want you to like fuck up because like that's weird. That's weird.
Because as you said, if I open like that, you're like not winning unless I have to do something drastically wrong. And one way to influence me doing something drastically wrong in that situation would be for you to like tell me to fuck up, essentially, you know, through like almost like borderline kind of like cheating, like suggesting.
Like, oh, you're tagging Buster, right? Or oh, whatever.
Yeah, exactly.
Like there's a bunch of different like variables. Like if I'm at an event and I'm playing with my friend and he like does the Bismugear thing, I'd be like, sure. If against most people, I'd let them like take back something if nothing's changed. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like if you like set fusion, you think for a second, you're like, actually, I'm gonna get this. I'd be like, no problem. Like if we've had a pleasant match so far and none of thing has like gone on other than like Yu-Gi-Oh, like I'll let you take something back like that. I'll let you search with Bismugear. Like, and I wish like the community was more based on like just playing. But then there's the thing where if my opponent's tried like me and my opponent had like a problem earlier in the match where I'd be like, no, you can't search. I think like if you're on like good terms with your opponent, if that makes sense, or like if they let you if they let you slide with something, you'd let them slide with something. I think that's a much more like favorable environment to like play. Like,
well, see, the thing is though, like, I mean, I guess you're just like nice that way. But like, see for example, if like my opponent like sets Metalfoes Fusion off the pop, and then they like shuffle their hand for like a few seconds, they go, oh, I'll set like combination. You'd let them take it back in that situation, right? If you've like,
if your opponent like, if my opponent straight up says, "Is it okay if I switch?" I'd be like, "Yeah, that's fine."
Why?
But most people are too proud that they wouldn't even ask. Have you ever noticed that?
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah. But no, if nothing's changed, I would just like say, "Oh, you man," and then like what Patrick did was like a whole nother step in the nice guy direction. Did you see that?
Yeah. So if he fucks up, then he can say, "Oh, but I let you take that back," kind of thing.
Yeah, each like want to like play you. It's like that. What Patrick did was crazy nice. Like, oh my god, 1,000,000 karma chips to him, and nice guy chips, whatever. But yeah, like I wish like you just like play, like play the cards. Like I'll give you an example. Like
Wait, do you really think what he did was nice? I think that's actually worse because let's say for example you let me take back something insignificant like what I set off a pop scale,
and then you think you can take back something later.
Yeah, because like what it means, like if I really fuck up, if you really fuck up later, you can go back and say, oh, but I let you change your scale search, when in reality the scale search was actually irrelevant. Like it doesn't matter if I set Metalfoes Fusion or Full Metals Fusion. In the end it was really gonna amount to the same thing, kind of thing. So do you not think that's actually like more deceitful? Because it's like if you do fuck up, like let's say you like summon like the wrong monster, you could just be like, oh, but I let you take that back. Yeah. And in that situation, summoning the wrong monster was actually very important. You needed to summon like let's say lightning to attack over some like set like Man-Eater Bug or some shit like that. But you accidentally made like Direwolf, so it means like you're not going to game them or something like that. Do you know what I mean? So what that means is like because you're letting them you're giving them the illusion that you're helping them by letting them take back a play, when in reality
I don't think I would be giving any illusion. I think I would just let like I'm not doing it for any other reason other than like to make the game more like actually based on Yu-Gi-Oh, not like based on like if I say, sure, you can take that back, and then later I mess up and want to take something back, it'd be nice if they let me, but I'm not really like expecting it. Like I'm not letting them take something back, so later I take something back. Like I think I should just try to like prevent the situation from ever arising, like, and not mess up. But like, if you mess up and then I mess up and I want to take it back, I wouldn't like expect you to let me do it because I let you. I'd expect you to do it because of like just decency.
Mm-hmm.
Like I don't say you could take it back to get like a like control over my opponent or something.
Mm-hmm.
And this is all given that you and your opponent on like good terms. Like at the ARG last weekend, I played a guy. I could speak for an hour on this, but I'll keep it short. Game 1, he goes first. He summons Dark Matter and like a Dragon Spirit or a Blue Eyes end phase, or a Dragon Spirit of White end phase. And on my turn, I kill him on my turn 1. And after I kill him, he comments, "That shouldn't have taken so long." I look at the clock. It's like 34 minutes. I'm like, my turn took, or it's 38 minutes. I'm like, my turn took 6 minutes to kill you. Like, our game 1 was 8 minutes. You don't think, like, that's too long? Like, you think that's too long? Like, I also, and like, there were a few decisions on my turn. Like, is my opponent good enough to tag Spirit for Blue Eyes in their hand at the right time versus using Return of the Dragon Lord's Engrave? So like, I had a lot of decisions, and I killed him. And then he complained that I took too long. So now, game 2, Calvin has a card error behind me, and he asks for a replacement. And I go into my bag, and my opponent's like, "Really, you're gonna like waste time again?" And I'm like, "Oh boy, this guy's asking for it." So game 3, I'm like, I'm gonna get him. Like, this guy deserves it. So we're in time. He soul charges back like a Blue Eyes, a Tuner, and a Dragon Spirit of White. And we have like judges around us because we're in time. And I ask him, I'm like, are you doing anything on summon? And he goes, "No." So we wait a few seconds. He says, "Dragon Spirit of White effect, target your scale." I said, "Well, when I asked you anything on summon, you said no, right?" He's like, "Well, yeah, I guess I did." I'm like, "And now you're trying to do something on summon." And at this point, I was like, this had no effect on the game. Literally zero effect on the game. I just kind of wanted to like teach him a lesson for like complaining, like, but for about time. But it's literally one of those like, the moral of the story is just be nice to your opponent, be an actual human, and the game will end up a lot better. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, if you two are on good terms, the match is going to be a lot more fun than if you're not.
Yeah.
Just don't complain. I hate people that complain, especially during the game.
Well,
all right. Sorry about that.
That's okay. That was a good point to make. I think that pretty much concludes everything. Didn't really get too many questions out of the chat, really. I mean, you've kind of covered like all kind of bases and stuff. Is there anything that you really wanted to go over, or just anything you wanted to mention at all throughout, like that you just want to say like on film kind of thing?
Trying to think. Like, I have like a lot of stories people enjoy me telling from Yu-Gi-Oh events, but when it comes down to it, the moral of all of them is like, just be normal. Like, just be a person, and your opponent will be a person back. Like, that's not like, there's so many Yu-Gi-Oh players you play against. You're like, that guy was weird. That guy was weird. But like, I feel like most people aren't like weird. They just act differently because they're like playing Yu-Gi-Oh. Mm-hmm. Like, and if people just acted normal, it'd be just a better like environment to play. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like Yu-Gi-Oh's fun. We all like playing it. It would be even more fun if people didn't create like bad situations and uncomfortable scenarios.
Well, I guess that's fair enough, but I'm gonna disagree with that. I think that if my
Really?
opponent tries to take something back and I say no, like tough luck, like you just played badly, kind of thing.
Yeah, it depends. I know I have friends that would let them take back something 100%. I know friends that would say take it back 0%. I guess I'm somewhere in the middle. It depends,
Yeah.
which it shouldn't. Like I should pick one side, but I don't know.
All right. Also, someone's asking what happened to Monahan. He did delete his Facebook, didn't he?
This is he just like he has no interest in playing Yu-Gi-Oh. Like
Really?
this has been happening for a while. He's played like a lot of really like especially stupid decks at events recently, and like done awful like and just like now I think I haven't even talked to him. It's been sad. But he actually just has like no desire to play at all. Like there was an event like maybe like a few months ago or even more recently in his state where he was like, "Do I just come to hang out?" I'm like, "Yes," and he just didn't.
Mm.
But he just I don't know if he's taking a break or the break will be permanent. I know he's in college now, so like that's like a big time thing. So
Yeah.
that was a good question though. I love Matt, great guy. It stinks not having him around.
Someone also asked, how do you feel about Masao?
Oh, I know who asked that, and I'm not going to answer because he knows how I'm going to answer it. But that was funny. I know who asked that. Very funny.
Okay. All right. Well, I guess that concludes everything. I think we've it's been just over an hour now, so yeah. I don't have any final questions here. I think it's been a good discussion. You've covered a lot of important points, and you've extrapolated upon like really good theoretical aspects of the game as well. So, thanks for coming on. It was good to talk to you.
Thank you for having me.
So, yeah, if you guys on stream, thanks for joining us. And if you missed anything, this will be on YouTube. Probably just gonna upload it straight after. I don't have any videos for today. And yeah, stay tuned for my YCS Bochum coverage. And
Are you going?
me, no, I have work. It's Christmas period, so they need
Okay.
people.
Because I thought you were going, and then just now I thought you were just because you're like, oh, covered. But yeah, I don't know. Work is
No.
more important.
All right, guys, we're out. So thanks for joining us, and yeah, see you next time.
Peace.